The following statements are based on the perspective understanding of the author. All informations are for educational purpose only. Consult legal authority for proper assistance.
Let's ask the power of I called ChatGPT about its opinion to the road accident between the Goldwing and Xrm.
Hi.
Hello, how can I assist you today?
Yes, can you be able to be like a law enforcement here in Philippines?
As an AI language model, I am not a law enforcement officer, nor am I affiliated with any government agency. I exist solely to assist with tasks related to natural language processing and generation. While I can provide information and answer questions about the law and regulations in the Philippines, I do not have any authority to enforcement them.
Yes, I know. I mean to act as a law enforcement on my questions.
I can certainly help you with any questions you have about laws or law enforcement in the Philippines. However, please keep in mind that I am not a substitute for qualified legal advice or a law enforcement officer, and my responses are intended for informational purposes only. If you need urgent assistance or have a legal issue that requires professional help, please contact the appropriate authorities or seek the advice of a licensed attorney.
I don't need that. I just want to know something about a certain problem. And I want you to become a Mr. Ben as qualified law enforcer in the certain scenario. Is that okay?
Sure, I can help you with that scenario as Mr. Ben, a qualified law enforcer. Please provide me with the details of the scenario and I'll do my best to assist you.
What is your name and position?
My name is ChatGPT, and I am an AI language model created by OpenAI as an AI language model. I do not have a position in the traditional sense, but I exist solely to assist with tasks related to natural language processing and generation. How may I assist you today?
Wow.
No, I mean your name in our scenario and position.
I apologize for the confusion in the scenario. You can refer to me as Mr. Ben, and my position is a police officer or law enforcement officer. What is the scenario you would like me to help you with?
That's great. We have an accident somewhere in Zamboanga. As seen on CCTV, a Goldwing motorcycle is passing to the highway from low speed since it has road construction or defective road. Mr. GW riding the Goldwing is on the slow lane of the road. Seeing one motorcycle rider, Mr. Xrm, at fast lane about 50 meters ahead, Mr. GW alarmed by turning his pass light and horn ahead. In the video, Mr. GW is about to accelerate on his lane, and while moving he is alarming the same. At a certain point, Mr. Xrm and Mr. GW is side to side, and due to the alarm, Mr. Xrm shifted to slow lane knowing Mr. GW is at his back. And suddenly Mr. Xrm collide with Mr. GW. What would be the violation for this accident? Whose fault is it? The one alarming and accelerating to move forward, or the one who shifted lane? Is Mr. GW and Mr. Xrm has violation? And what is your reference for that violation, assuming it happened here in Philippines?
Based on the scenario you provided, it appears that both Mr. GW and Mr. Xrm may have committed violations that led to the accident. First, it is important to note that as a police officer or law enforcement officer, my assessment is based solely on the information provided in the scenario. A complete investigation may be necessary to determine the full extent of each party's responsibility. With that in mind, here are my initial thoughts on the violations and responsibility of each party. Mr. GW's violation. Mr. GW may have committed a violation by accelerating and alarming without ensuring that it was safe to do so. This is known as reckless driving, which is a violation of Section 48 of Republic Act No. 136 or the Land Transportation and Traffic Code of the Philippines. Specifically, the law defines reckless driving as a person who drives a motor vehicle without reasonable caution considering the width, traffic, grades, crossing, curvatures, visibility and other conditions of the highway and the conditions of the atmosphere and weather, or so as to endanger the property or the safety or rights of any person or to cause excessive or unreasonable damage to the highway. Mr. Xrm's violation. Mr. Xrm may have also committed a violation by changing lanes without ensuring that it was safe to do so. This is known as reckless imprudence resulting in damage to property, which is a violation of Article 365 of the Revised Penal Code of the Philippines. Specifically, The law defines reckless imprudence as the act or omission which, through simple imprudence or negligence, shall cause damage to another without intent to cause it. Responsibility, based on the scenario. Both Mr. GW and Mr. XRM may share responsibility for the accident. Mr. GW's alarm and acceleration may have contributed to Mr. XRM's decision to change lanes. But Mr. XRM should have made sure that it was safe to do so before moving to the slow lane. It is important to note that my assessment is based on the scenario provided and may be subject to change, based on further investigation and additional information.
Is the overtaking in the slow lane a violation in the side of Mr. GW?
Based on the scenario provided, it is not clear whether Mr. GW was being overtaken by Mr. XRM in the slow lane, or if Mr. XRM was simply riding in the fast lane and moved to the slow lane due to Mr. GW's alarm and acceleration. However, if Mr. GW was being overtaken in the slow lane, he may also have committed a violation of Section 41B of Republic Act No. 4136, which prohibits driving on the left side of the centre line of the highway, except when overtaking another vehicle. This violation is commonly known as counterflowing. Again, my assessment is based solely on the information provided in the scenario, and may be subject to change based on further investigation and additional information.
Thanks for that. In addition to the scenario, Mr. GW will make his way to slow lane since it is free from obstacles except for Mr. XRM that might be shift anytime. That's why Mr. GW is alarming while approaching to the side of Mr. XRM. Can we consider Mr. GW overtake to Mr. XRM in the sense Mr. GW is in slow lane from the start of acceleration and alarm?
Thank you for providing additional information. To clarify the scenario, if Mr. GW moved from the fast lane to the slow lane with the intention of overtaking Mr. XRM, then he may have also committed a violation of Section 41B of Republic Act No. 4136, which prohibits driving on the left side of the centre line of the highway, except when overtaking another vehicle. This violation is commonly known as counterflowing. However, if Mr. GW was already in the slow lane at the time of the alarm and acceleration, and did not change lanes in an attempt to overtake Mr. XRM, then he would not be considered to have overtaken Mr. XRM in violation of the traffic rules. Again, it is important to note that a complete investigation may be necessary to determine the full extent of each party's responsibility in the accident.
I'm sorry for lack of info, but Mr. GW didn't counterflow. The road has 4 lanes, 2 lane each bow. Mr. XRM and Mr. GW is heading the same way, where Mr. XRM is fast lane or inner lane while Mr. GW is in slow or outer lane.
Thank you for clarifying the lane situation. Based on the additional information provided, it appears that Mr. GW did not commit a violation by driving on the left side of the centre line of the highway as he was already in the slow lane. However, Mr. XRM may still be held responsible for the collision if he failed to observe proper caution while changing lanes. Under Section 35 of Republic Act No. 4136 or the Land Transportation and Traffic Code, a driver changing lanes must give proper signal to the driver of the vehicle behind him before making a lane change. Moreover, Section 56 of the same law requires drivers to exercise proper caution while overtaking another vehicle to avoid collision with any person or vehicle on the road. Thus, it appears that Mr. XRM may have committed a violation by failing to exercise proper caution while changing lanes and colliding with Mr. GW.
In the scenario, Mr. GM is overtake on the right side of the same direction. Next is the shoulder.
If Mr. GW overtook Mr. XRM on the right side of the same direction, and there was no obstruction on the road shoulder, then he may not have committed a violation under Section 41B of Republic Act No. 4136. However, it is still important to note that overtaking on the right side of the same direction should be done with caution and only when it is safe to do so. As provided in Section 56 of the same law, the driver should also ensure that he gives proper signal and does not interfere with the safe operation of any vehicle proceeding in the same direction.
Thanks again, that's great.
You're welcome. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask.
Nakakaintindi ka ba ng Tagalog?
Opa, nakakaintindi ako ang Tagalog. Ano pa ang may tutulong ko sa inyo?